everyone, welcome to my podcast. Today I'm going to talk about something interesting. This is about Edward Said and Palestine in 1988. Edward Said was one of the most important Palestinian voices in American media. At a time when Palestinians often misunderstood and misrepresented, Said was using television interviews, newspaper, and public lecturers to present about Palestinian story to the Western studies. So, in this episode, I will talk about what Said said, why it mattered, and how Americans reacted to him. The first section, I want to talk about Edward Said. Do you guys know who is Edward Said? Edward Said was one of the most famous Palestinian American scholars, writers, and professor at Columbia University. And his famous book is Orientalism. According to Said, Western countries often see Middle East as violent, dangerous, or uncivilized. This same bias, he argued, shaped how West talked about Palestine. So, what was happening politically in 1988? Actually, 1988 was a major year for Palestine. But why? Here are three main points why 1988 was a major year for Palestine. The first, in 1988, the first Intifada, which is Palestinian uprising, was happening. Second, in November 1988, the Palestinian Declaration of Independence was announced, and a US politician and journalist suddenly wanted to talk about Palestinian question. But based on the study at the time, like Daniel Hollins' research, US media, US report still relied on stereotypes. Many reports describe Palestinians mainly through the violence and conflicts, not through their political goals and their daily struggles. This is exactly what Edward Said needed to speak up. When Said spoke in American media, he repeated the main idea. We need to see Palestinians as people, not just as images on the news. Based on his essay in 1988, first, Palestinian had a story. Palestinians had political goals and they had the right to self-determination. But American media often reduced them to terrorists or rioters. So I believe this was due to Orientalism, a set of Western stereotypes about Middle East. He argued that these stereotypes made American hard to understand what Palestine actually fighting for. In 1988, Said appeared on several television networks, including CNN and ABC. He did a few key things. First, he corrected the false statement. When the host or journalist started to say something like Palestinian started the violence, and Said calmly explained the history of occupation and the reason why they were protesting. Second, he added context. Instead of talking in quick sound bites, he gave detailed explanation about American media, about American audiences had never heard before. And the third, he refused to let Palestinians be blamed automatically. When media or journalists try to frame Israel as the victims and Palestinians as the aggressors, Said pushed them back with facts. According to political analyst Rashid Khalidi, Said was one of the first Palestinian who confidently and clearly debated on US television, which is something rare at the time. Said also wrote for a major newspaper and magazines. In 1988, he published essays in the New York Times, The Nation, London Review of Books, and Journal of Palestine Studies. In these articles, he talked about why Palestinians wanted independence, why the Intifada was a political movement and not just a random violence, and how Americans often ignored Palestinian voices. He also criticized US foreign policy, saying it was too one-sided and didn't treat Palestinians fairly. And how did people react to him? How American media reacted to Said? Some American found Said refreshing because he gave the information that they never got from regular news. Others saw him as too critical of US and Israel policies, and some seen him as public intellectual, while others accused him for being too radical. But the important thing is he made people talk. He made them talk. He forced American audiences, he forced American media to question what they thought they knew about Palestine. Even today, the discussions about Palestine still use biased language. Edward Said's work remind us to do not accept news coverage without thinking. Listen to the voices of the people who directly involved and understand the history, not just the headlines. And in 1988, Edward Said used his voice to make sure that Palestine were not erased from these conversations. So, to sum up for today's episode, Edward Said was not just a scholar, he was a powerful communicator. In 1988, by his presence and his voice in American media helped challenge stereotypes, corrected misinformation, and bring the Palestine story to the people who never heard before. Thank you for listening. I hope my explanation about Edward Said and Palestine in 1988 give you new insight. See you. Bye bye.